And I was driving home the day after my brother's birthday, and I was driving too fast. My car drifted into the dirt on the side of the road, and I lost control, flipped down an embankment, and a Palo Verde tree came through my windshield and impaled me in the face.
Oh, my God, you're kidding.
Wow. And so, I mean, it was pretty traumatic. My spine was broken in 7 places, broke 7 vertebrae. My jaw, my nose, my face was just blown. The tree hit me so hard it blew my left eye from the eye socket.
Got a goal and you just can't hit it? Well, fill up here and we'll help you get it. Learn the Goal Achievement Success System here on Goal Getting Podcast and put some gas in your goals to power you to the finish line. Let's go, friends. Rev up your engines and let's take off for success. Hello, goal getters. This is Tony Woodall. I'm here with my special guest, Tanner Gers. Did I say that right, Tanner?
Yeah, 100%.
100%. And we're in beautiful Tempe, Arizona, because I'm here for a conference. And Tanner, you're from the Phoenix area, I believe?
That's right. I'm living here now, yeah.
Yeah, excellent. So we just happened to get together and connect here while we're both in the same area. And I wanted to talk with you for quite a while. I am amazed at your background, your story that you have. You have some incredible achievements that I've heard about online, listening to you talk on other podcasts and, listening to your story. And I'd love to share that with our listeners here today.
Yeah, man. I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, thank you.
Fantastic.
It's great. And just the ability to, the great thing about traveling around, you get to meet people that you've seen online all the time, and you get to talk with them, you get to know them and build those relationships online. But it really helps to meet face to face. And we are live here, so you'll hear music in the background because we're in the hotel.
We're in the lobby.
Living it. Pretty much, we're in the lobby. This is sort of not break, I want to say break room, but this is where they have breakfast in the morning. Mm-hmm. But it's basically the lobby of the hotel. So You guys please ignore the music in the background. We aren't playing music. It just happens to be in the background. Yeah. So don't get us in trouble.
And to your point about us connecting, online and then in person, I think that having that presence there online is so important on social media and such. That's how, we connected through podcasting and social media. And then you just said, hey, I'm going to be here for this NSA event. And I was like, holy moly, I got to, and so it made me reach out. And so that's how we got connected. So
and that's the power of social media.
Yes.
And again, with those relationships, you can mention that you're somewhere and say, hey, I'm in the same town, at the same time. And that really works really well. And I've done that with several of the folks who've come to San Francisco where I live that I know on, different podcasts or on social media. They'll say, oh, I'm here in San Francisco. I said, hey, let's get together. Finally, we get to meet,
Yep.
And I've actually got somebody I used to work with in Atlanta when I lived there. And she's in San Francisco today. She just arrived today. So we're going to connect when I get back to San Francisco this week and kind of, touch base again. We haven't seen each other in years.
Double doozy.
Yeah. So I get to meet with 2 people that I know and in person from online. So that's really great. So Tanner, tell me a little bit about yourself. I mean, you have a fantastic story of, overcoming obstacles, still striving to achieve your goals and achieving those goals. And I just want to hear from you because I've heard you on other podcasts and I've heard your story online, and just want you to talk to me and the listeners here about your story, because I think it's amazing. You inspire me every time I listen to you and every time I hear about you. I just, it gives me, just great inspiration that you can do what you do. So tell us a little bit about that, if you wouldn't mind. Give us the background there.
Well, again, it's an honor and a privilege. So thank you so much. So yeah, the short of the long is that I was an all-American kid growing up, and, sports, every sport you could possibly imagine, just trying to stay out of trouble. And then, in college, I ended up dropping out of college because I just wasn't ready. And played we were talking about this earlier tonight over dinner, is that I played just a brief stint in college, lacrosse, and then I dropped out. I was really impacted by 9/11, and so deep into the enlistment process, I already had taken my ASVAB. I, knew what I was going to be, what my job was going to be. Basically, I just had to sign on the dotted line. And I was driving home the day after my brother's birthday, and I was driving too fast, My car drifted into the dirt on the side of the road, and I lost control, flipped down an embankment, and a Palo Verde tree came through my windshield and impaled me in the face.
Oh my God, you're kidding.
And so, I mean, it was pretty traumatic. My spine was broken in 7 places, broke 7 vertebrae. My jaw, my nose, my face was just blown. The tree hit me so hard it blew my left eye from the eye socket. And a good portion of my skull was blown off too. So my brain was exposed to the air. And, somehow, some way, I'm still conscious. I'm screaming for help. Blood and glass just everywhere.
Wow.
So from that point, I woke up in the hospital totally blind. That was the main thing that affects me to today. But that was at the time, it was actually the least of my worries because I had this infection. I had 2 infections, one in my sinus cavity that ended up eating my eye from the inside out, which is horrible. And then another one on my brain that was killing me.
Wow.
And so that was, on top of losing the sight, on top of the depression, the anxiety, it was really just about survival at that moment. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
So just the physical injury plus internal wearing away at you and from the inside out.
Totally.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. I can't even think about, how I would do, but you seem to have really excelled past that. You haven't let that bother you. Tell me a little bit about that. I know we talked today about, that feeling of before you kind of lost or didn't feel like you had done something at that time. And
Word. Yeah. So, I mean, the thing that really got me going was my mom. I mean, she was my rock, my foundation, my support team. She really pushed me to get going, and I did. I mean, so the accident was in March, and then I got out of the hospital Memorial Day weekend, and by August I was enrolled back in college. I had 2 brain surgeries that semester, so I was taking tests over the phone from ICU. From recovering from a brain surgery. And, then learned how to live life blind, kept going to school, started working full time, bought a house, started playing sports, found beat baseball for the blind, which really threw gasoline on my motivational pilot light.
Oh, okay.
So that really changed my life because for the first time in 4 years, I was stepping out into an environment that 1 was familiar. Sport. I love playing sports. And 2, it put me on an even playing field that I've never had in 4 years. And so for the first time, I'm not looked at, I would experience these double binds, where I'm blind and stupid, or I'm blind and deaf, or blind and incapable, or just these societal labels that we put on people with disabilities. And so I stepped into this environment, that was gone. And so it really helped me take it to the next level in so many different other areas.
So tell us a little bit about beat baseball. I've heard a little bit about your story and about that. Explain to the listener what beat baseball is. They may not be familiar with that.
Yeah, I mean, just amazing sport. And I apologize for my sniffling. I was just telling Tony that, man, this year for the first time in my life, I was, getting kicked in the teeth with allergies, and it was those silly Palo Verde trees that coming to get me again. So
adding insult to injury.
That's right. So beat baseball, it's really tough to describe just orally. It really takes, seeing it to appreciate how immensely fun and exciting and high-paced it is, because when we think of America's pastime, we really think of a slower sport, and beat baseball is very, very fast, especially when you're playing with 2 competitive teams. And the main reason is because the pitcher is actually on the batting team, right? Because if it was a pitcher trying to strike out a blind guy, that would be pretty easy and very boring.
I was going to say, when you say it's slower or faster, 90-mile-an-hour fastballs coming at you, how do you see a 90-mile-an-hour fastball? It's an even faster sport than you say in the baseball is, as far as the timing goes, I guess, more so than.
I meant, in like the play-by-play action. Like when you're playing good teams, there's action every single play because everybody's hitting. And so that means that everybody's playing defense. And that also means that So when you play beat baseball, the main differences are one, that the pitchers on the on the batting team, right? So they pitch the ball and they say, ready, set, pitch. And then my job is to swing the bat in the same spot based on that cadence. And it's the pitcher's job to know where I swing and meet me there with the ball.
Oh, wow.
And so the ball beeps, but that's so the defense can pick it up, so they can find it, locate it, and pick up the ball before the runner gets to the base. The bases are buzzing, they're constant buzzing, and they turn on randomly and automatically as soon as the pitcher pitches the ball. So if you can imagine, again, that's why I said you really have to see a video to just kind of see it in action. But so ready, set, pitch, they throw it, I hit it, and then a base comes on, I run to the base. And if the defense picks up the ball before I get to the base, it's an out.
Yeah.
If I score a run, that's because I got to the base before they picked it up. Or the other thing is I could just strike out. And so it's highly aggressive. It's highly, I don't want to say violent, but it's very tough on the body. It's very, very competitive. We have, I believe there's 4 international teams that we got right now. One is really active, the Taiwanese team. They'll be here in West Palm Beach, Florida this summer, which is where we're playing the World Series. And that rotates around every year. And then we also have Canada coming down. They're going to be representing. We hope to get the Caribbean team to come out and play. And then we'll have over 500 athletes coming down to West Palm Beach to get it going.
Oh, no kidding. Wow.
Yeah,
So it's that big of a sport.
Yeah.
You got that many people involved. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a week-long tournament.
Okay. It's the World Series.
Yeah, they call it the World Series, Taiwan, Canada, the United States, and I think it'll be over 20 teams from the United States, and then, a couple teams from international. I think they're cutting it at 24 teams this year. Which is, so we have a lot of people. And then so, like I was saying, that sport really put motivation behind everything that I was doing and really helped me see that, there's more opportunities. I can really express myself in ways that I never thought would be possible again.
Right.
From there, like I said, it put gas on my motivational pilot light in terms of my life, not just sports. So I did graduate to other Big Daddy sports, but more importantly, as an entrepreneur, I started buying and selling cars. I opened up a mobile food truck business, a mobile kitchen, which is kind of a funny thing for a blind guy to have a mobile food kitchen. And then of course I got online first in 2013. In 2011 is when I first started running track and field. Very blessed. Ended up doing well at the national championships that year, made the U.S. national team at that event, went to the Pan America Games in Guadalajara to represent the United States, came home a champion from that and ranked 4th in the world. And that really set me up well to go to London, the following year. So I was on the national team and did, was a gold medalist in the Paralympic trials, ended up representing Team USA. But getting back to that statement that you were saying earlier, or what we were talking about earlier, was that, getting over these things that, so it's like I have all these successes, right? And like, externally things seem to be going so well. And at the same time, and really in line with this podcast, with the Goal Getting podcast is I was ticking off these boxes. It was like I just decided I'm going to be a Paralympian. And I did everything that I could to achieve that goal, and it happened. And there's so much more behind the story, the sacrifice, the struggle, the daily unrelenting persistence to move towards that goal. And it ultimately became manifested. But I have all these external successes, and yet inside, I was really struggling with who I was, that no matter how much I seemed to achieve, and I couldn't quantify my self-worth or any of the worth of the accomplishments to be anything that I'd done before I lost my sight.
Right.
And so that was, I guess the point that I'm making is that along this journey, and I'm still doing it, is that, I'm still growing and developing and learning who I am and becoming satisfied with the, circumstance that I find myself, and then figuring out creative ways to break through those ceilings and those walls that we somehow mentally create for ourselves. So that was a lot. I hope we can unpack some of that.
Yeah. So how do you get past that? If that feeling is there, what techniques or processes do you go through to overcome that? Is there any particular routine or anything that you do to overcome that, or?
Well, there's just so many things. I mean, I think it was Zig Ziglar who said, you don't have to take a shower every day, but I recommend it. And the same thing's true with motivation, right? So I was definitely listening to a lot of motivational videos, and that was kind of one of the things that would help me get going. But, I had to look or lose my sight in order to look inside myself and see who I really was. Which is a very fun thing to say, but what are the action steps behind that? It's really about, the outward success is analogous to your internal, the depths that you're going to go internally.
Right.
So some of the things that I would do were, one is like forgive myself for putting myself in this situation. Forgive myself for putting the stress on my family. And forgiving others for other things that they've done to me, bad things, and letting that go.
Right.
It's, you can't grab hold of today, with one hand on the past. And so forgiving other people and myself was the best way that I was able to grab hold of today. So there's that. And then just quieting the mind, with that internal, meditative, state. So that was when I got started. That's evolved since then, but those would, I think, are the two fundamental things that really propelled me forward, was letting go of the past and people by forgiving them and forgiving myself. And then, just trying to quiet the chatter that's going on between my ears.
All right. And I think that's something that's really important that people don't realize, is that we have to forgive ourselves, but also forgive other people.
Yes.
And give that forgiveness. That was something I learned early on in my career. I was talking to a motivational speaker at one time, and we were talking about how I just felt like I wasn't doing what I needed to do and blaming myself for it. And he said, you need to forgive yourself, and you need to forgive the people that you feel wronged you at that time, and that's the only way you're going to get past it. So I think forgiveness of ourselves especially, but also for the other people that may not understand us or may have wronged us or whatever, that kind of set that up, is important. So I agree with that. That's amazing that we have that same, again, thought process on there. You have to forgive yourself.
Totally. And for people, like, you don't have to call them up, right? You don't have to say, like, hey, by the way, in 1992, I slapped you across the face, and like, hey, dude, we were 14. Yep. So you can just visualize that and put that, kind of almost as if you will relive that situation, and then just send energetically, like you were praying or you're meditating or you're just thinking about something. You just energetically send that forgiveness out. And what's helped me is go deep on forgiveness. Like when you start forgiving things, you start peeling these layers back, and more situations start coming up in your head. For me, I know that I finally let it go when I stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
So if something keeps you up late at night, probably a pretty good indication that you're holding a grudge, or you have something to forgive associated with that situation.
Right.
Maybe it's forgiving yourself for, overthinking the details. Maybe it's forgiving yourself for missing an opportunity and not pulling the trigger. And maybe it's forgiving someone else for making you feel like you're not good enough, you're not wanted, you're not valued, or anything that's given you a negative feeling. So,
yep, very good. Now, you talked about quieting the mind. That's one of I think the biggest obstacles that anybody faces is quieting their mind, because we all have that inner voice sometimes that gets in there, or those, the imposter syndrome, or any of those. I know I fight it, unfortunately, daily. And one of my mentors in the podcasting world, Joel Bogus, caught me one time when I was talking to him, and he goes, Tony, I hear the imposter in your voice. You need to kick him out and not let him come back in. And I know I fight that battle every single day, a lot of times, to keep that imposter from coming in. So I think that is a big key, to quiet that voice. Is there anything that you do, yourself, that helps you fight that, or helps get those voices quieted?
Well, I mean, certainly it's funny that you mentioned Joel, because Joel's in my mastermind group, and I quoted him before we started recording, and that's one of the things that I do to kind of quiet those voices, which is doing is the new planning. And so instead of getting caught up in your head, with like, oh, what if this happens? What if that happens? Like, you just do. Right. You just do more and learn along the way, because, it's going to hit the fan and you're going to fail unless, the cards fall in your favor, which is great if they do, but probably not going to happen, at least not the first time or the second, probably not the third either. But that fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh time, cards will start falling in your favor. And so doing is the new planning. The other thing that I got started with is just counting my breaths. Literally only focusing on my breath, and I just count. And as long as I've been doing that now for probably 4 years, the highest that I've ever gotten up to is like 9. So it's this thing that we train and that we try. And if you stop doing it, it's a muscle. It will atrophy. So if you stop practicing that, you're gonna recede and decline. So when I'm, now I'm reinitiating this in my life, the quieting the mental chatter, and it's, I'm getting up to like 4 or 5, but that's all I can do. Right. Because that's how much is going on in my head right now, and it reflects the place, where I'm at in terms of my personal development. But I mean, there was a time when I was so like dead on. I was just so in the moment, where I like to call memoryless. So we have like these reactions or these perceptions or these thoughts about a situation that we find ourselves or what we observe, and our memories or our experience influence how we feel about something, right? So like, oh, I've been burned before like this, or, maybe somebody in your life has harmed you and you don't know it, but the person that you're speaking with reminds you of them. So this is where I live memoryless, and it was so tuned in that like nothing upset me. And it was like so mysterious to my wife, because these things that used to would bother the hell out of me, I'd scream, I'd yell, I'd be all upset. And now it's like, oh, whatever, no big deal. And she would even, I felt like sometimes she was trying to upset me just to see how far like I could go. It was just, so if you can get to that moment where nothing bothers you, no one's, crap talk or, trolling on social or whatever, that's the point that I like to move towards and stay in. But just counting your breath will help you get there. That's a very rudimentary, way to get started, or a low level way to get started. But, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Speaking of that, one of my favorite things to ask, and I didn't prep you for this, so
that's okay.
If it's a tough one, let me know.
I'll hit you in the face.
All right, I can take it. The one question I ask all my guests is, what quote hangs on your wall? What is the quote that you live by, or that, motivates you or inspires you, that you keep posted on your wall, either at your desk or your home somewhere? What is that one quote? Do you have one?
Oh, absolutely. It's my favorite one, and it's by the late Jim Rohn. It's in my email signature, and it says, "Make plans like an adult, believe in them like a child." And that is really reflective of that Joel Boggess quote, like doing is the new planning, where we have these big dreams, like we have these goals, right? We want to get these goals, and the only way that we can achieve them or put ourselves in the best position to achieve them is just believe in them like a child. So,
absolutely. Yeah.
Like I like to use the analogy about Christmas. Whether everybody, whether you're a Christian or not, or you celebrate Christmas or not, people are familiar with Christmas and the story behind it is that, Santa Claus flies around the world with gifts in a sleigh pulled by reindeers that fly, and he lands on everybody's home, on their roof, comes down the chimney. Some people don't even have chimneys, but somehow he finds out a way to get in your house and leave these gifts. And kids believe this at the core of their being.
Yes.
And a lot of the things that people get hung up with is the details of how it happens. Mm-hmm. And the kids don't give a crap about the details.
Exactly.
They just believe that Santa's coming. And whether Santa came or not, at the end of the day, they wake up on Christmas morning and it's Christmas morning. And there's going to be a gift to one degree or another. Some families it's bigger than others, but the deal is that something happens. And so if you become a millionaire because you win the lotto, or that someone, you get this inheritance, or you get this angel investor coming through, or all of a sudden, whatever starts to happen, whatever abundance opens up for you to achieve the goals that you set for yourself, it's not so much the details that made it happen as it is the belief, the absolute unshakable belief that it will and is happening.
Excellent. No, childlike belief is what empowers a lot of things in our lives, or should, definitely. And I totally love that quote. I'm going to have to make that one of mine as well, because I think, one of my martial arts teachers that I had always taught us, somebody asked him one time, said, how do I teach my children martial arts and whatever? And he said, don't teach them. Watch them and learn from them, because they move naturally. They do things naturally. That natural belief that they have and that natural desire to believe is what, we need to have in our lives. And I think that's a perfect quote. So thank you.
Well, there's another side to that quote that so many people don't understand that I think is really important to address, and that just as strong as those childlike beliefs will work for you, they will also be working against you. Mm-hmm. So if you believe that you're supposed to struggle, that's me. If you believe that you have to hustle, that's me. Mm-hmm. If you believe that things are going to get difficult and that you're going to fail, that's me. It's going to happen.
Yes.
And so the other side to believing like a child is clearing the old beliefs, and that gets back to the forgiveness and forgiving yourself and releasing that crap, is having those beliefs, unconscious or not, is going to hold you and prevent Santa from showing up in your life.
Oh, very good. I love that. Thank you. It's deeper than we think when you put it that way. I mean,
yeah,
but very true. Yeah,
it's the highways of our life are often going both ways, mm-hmm. right? It's rarely are we on a one-way street, and so we've got to respect the things that can create so much for us, especially when it comes to mindset or goal setting or these daily practices. The crappy daily practices are going to lead to crappy results, mm-hmm. right? Crappy commitments are going to lead to crappy results, just like amazing, unshakable commitments, amazing, unshakable daily practices, amazing, unshakable beliefs are also going to create amazing, unshakable results.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you, Tanner. Folks, Tanner's an award-winning athlete, great guy. I've really enjoyed meeting you today. And you are also embarking on a professional speaking career. You're doing that now.
Yes.
How can people find out more about that and more about you?
The best place to connect and see everything that I'm doing is at tannergers.com.
Tanner Gers. Can you spell that for us?
Yep. Tanner, Tanner, and then GERS.com. And just the other day I was like, I'm going to buy Tanner Gers as how everybody thinks that it's spelled, because
exactly.
I need to redirect it.
You should, because somebody's going to spell it wrong.
Everybody spells it wrong.
Everybody spells it
wrong.
I've
literally had 6 people look at it on paper and say it right. And so, and Tony, man, brother, I appreciate this so much. Thank you for having me today.
Oh, I love having you. Like I said, it's been one of my goals to have you on my show. You just inspire me to go further than I can, or think I can. And again, it's overcoming those limiting beliefs that we have. And I do appreciate it. One last thing, I'm running out of time on my recording device.
Yeah, no worries.
But is there a book, a business book, or a motivational book that you read that, is something that helps keep you going as well?
Well, there's two that I would love to give you, which is Getting to Know, and I forget the author. I read that book in 2016, and I was like, holy moly, what, like, number one, everybody needs to read this. It's about sales, and it's a fictional book, but it is, and it's a short book, a really quick read, but it is amazing.
That's Getting to Know as an N-O.
Yep, Getting to Know, and I'll shoot you the link on that just to make sure I'm quoting it right. It's in my Audible. I highly recommend everybody read it at least once a year.
Okay.
The second one, it was, written by Dr. Joe Vitale, and, it's called The Miracle, 6 Steps to Enlightenment. And they've got a lot of the great practices for energy that I'm 100% behind, like tapping, like, the Ho'oponopono, which is, I'm probably chopping that up really bad, but, that has a forgiveness component in it. Ho'oponopono is this basic thing where it's like, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. That's basically all it is. And that has opened up my life in ways that I can't describe. It's a hugely powerful book. So Get to Know and, The Miracle.
Great. Thank you so much, Tanner. Any special last minute words of wisdom or best advice that you can recommend to people?
Yeah, totally. So the other day I was doing karaoke and I probably had a couple alcoholic beverages, probably. I don't know how many, but there was probably some. And the Uber driver was taking me home and I didn't want to talk to him. But he wanted to talk to me. And so we started rapping and rhyming, and he started pulling some stuff out of me. And one of the things that I said to him was, he was asking me about this journey that I'm on right now in the nonprofit space. I was telling you a little bit about this earlier. And he goes, why do you do that? Like, why do you do so much for other people? And I said, it's simple. Helping yourself is great. Helping others is greatness.
Wonderful. Thank you for ending with that. That is a great story. And be sure and send me the information on your nonprofit so that we can make sure that we have some of that in the show notes. So folks, go to the show notes page, find out more about Tanner, tannergers.com, find out about his nonprofit, and learn and listen to this man. He is an inspiration to me and many people around the world. So please pay attention to him. Tanner, thank you again. It's been a pleasure talking with you tonight. We'll continue this again, over and over again, in person and also online. So thank you again. It's a pleasure having you today and a great opportunity to meet and hang out with you. And we're going to go have some fun. And you just gave this great thought for a new thing going on, Uber karaoke. So we can go out there and start this new TV show, Uber karaoke, get the Uber drivers involved out there. So I don't think you sang karaoke in the Uber. I think you did that before you got in the Uber. But that triggers the thought. Let's do this new Uber karaoke program and do that online.
I love it. I love it. Tony, I love you, man. Thank you so much.
Same as here. All right, man. Thank you and have a great day, folks.